The grand temple of Valthera Prime stood like a mountain of white marble and crystal, reaching toward the purple sky. Inside its largest chamber, thousands of beings from across the galaxy gathered in silence. They all came to see the same thing. A young woman suspended in midair, frozen inside a shell of glowing crystal. Her eyes were open, aware, but her body could not move. Princess Hana had been trapped like this for 15 years. She floated above an ancient throne made of black stone, her royal robes still perfect, her dark hair flowing as if caught in an eternal breeze. The crystal around her pulsed with a soft blue light. To anyone watching, she looked peaceful, almost asleep. But Hana was awake. She had been awake every single moment for 15 years. She could see everything, hear everything, but could not speak or move even a finger. The curse had taken her on a research mission. Hana loved exploring old ruins and finding artifacts from ancient times. She was not just a princess who attended parties and smiled for cameras. She was a real scientist, someone who got dirt under her nails and spent weeks camping in forgotten places. That passion had led her to a precursor vault on a dead moon. The precursors were mysterious beings who lived millions of years ago and then vanished. They left behind incredible technology that no one fully understood. Inside that vault, Hana found a smooth sphere covered in symbols. When she touched it, light exploded around her. Pain shot through her body and then nothing. When she woke, she was already encased in crystal, being carried back to the palace. The royal doctors tried everything. The best scientists in the empire studied the curse. Nothing worked. An old text finally gave them an answer, though not a helpful one. It said only someone with a pure heart and unbreakable will could lift her from the enchanted throne. So they tried. Oh, how they tried. Prince Voran came first. He was from the Kralik species, beings who looked like walking dragons with scales harder than steel. Voran could lift a battle tank over his head. He was confident, perhaps too confident. He approached the throne with his chest puffed out, ignoring the priest who tried to explain the ritual. Voran grabbed Hana under her arms and pulled. The crystal did not budge. He pulled harder, muscles bulging, his scales turning bright red from effort. Still nothing. After 10 minutes, he gave up, breathing hard, and left without a word. Next came Champion Thex of the Luminar. His people were beings of pure energy, existing inside special suits that contained their forms. Thex channeled all his power into his arms, making them glow like small stars. He reached for Hana with confidence. The moment he touched the crystal, his energy scattered like water hitting a wall. He tried 3 times before his suit's power ran low and he had to leave. Duke Rexian of the Mecro civilization came with an army of servants and cameras to record his certain victory. His people replaced their organic bodies with machines, becoming half computer, half living things. Rexian calculated the exact force needed, adjusted his mechanical arms to maximum strength, and made his attempt. The crystal did not care about his calculations. It held firm while he strained and sparked and finally overheated. His servants had to carry him away while his cooling systems worked overtime. After Rexian, dozens more came. Warriors, wizards, nobles, and champions. They came from species that could breathe fire, teleport, or bench press small moons. All of them failed. Some failed quietly. Others raged and accused the prophecy of being a lie. None succeeded in moving Hana even a single inch. For Hana, each failure was a small death. She watched through her crystal prison as hope walked in and disappointment walked out. The worst part was not their failure. The worst part was how they saw her. To them, she was a prize, a challenge, a trophy that would bring them glory and maybe a kingdom. Not once did any of them look into her eyes and see a person suffering inside. Her father, Emperor Taiyang, aged 10 years in the first 5. His hair went from black to gray, then gray to white. He sat on his throne and watched prince after prince fail his daughter. His younger daughter, Yuna, visited Hana every day, talking to her even though Hana could not respond. Yuna told her about palace gossip, about scientific discoveries, about anything to make Hana feel less alone. Yuna was perhaps the only one who understood that Hana was still in there, still thinking and feeling. The galaxy slowly lost interest. At first, breaking the curse was the most talked about challenge in all the civilized worlds. News networks covered every attempt. Betting pools formed over who would succeed. But after years of failure, people moved on. The attempts became fewer. Months would pass between challengers. The grand temple, once packed with spectators, now echoed with emptiness. Hana learned to cope. She counted seconds, which became minutes, which became hours and days and years. She memorized every crack in the temple ceiling. She named the birds that sometimes flew through the high windows. She replayed every memory she had, polishing them like precious gems in her mind. She thought about her research, about the questions she never got to answer. She thought about the normal life she would never have. In her darkest moments, she wondered if this was her fault. Had she been too proud? Too reckless? The artifact judged her unworthy according to the texts. What had she lacked? Power, wisdom, humility? The questions circled in her mind like hungry sharks, but answers never came. The temple priests maintained their vigil. They cleaned the chamber, kept the sacred candles lit, and logged each failed attempt in their books. They were kind but distant, treating her like a holy relic rather than a person. Perhaps that was easier for them. 15 years of consciousness without movement, without speech, without touch. 15 years of being a living statue. Most people would have gone mad. Perhaps Hana did go a little mad, in ways she did not recognize. But something in her core refused to break completely. The same stubbornness that made her explore dangerous ruins, the same determination that pushed her to solve impossible puzzles, kept her mind intact. She was still in there. Still Hana. Still waiting. She did not know that halfway across the galaxy, on a small blue planet that most people barely knew existed, a young man was hearing about her story for the first time. She did not know that this man, this human from Earth, would look at her case and think, not about glory or prophecies, but about a person trapped in suffering. She did not know that someone was coming who would see her, really see her for the first time in 15 years. Someone was coming who would refuse to give up. Deho wiped grease from his hands and stared at the life support panel he had just repaired. The hum of machinery filled the maintenance tunnel of Waystation 7, a sound he found oddly comforting. He had been working on space stations for 3 years now, ever since Earth joined the Valtherian Empire. It was good work. Honest work. Not glamorous, but someone had to keep the air flowing and the water clean. His communicator buzzed. A message from Minho, his best friend and the station's most reckless pilot. Break room, now. You have to see this. Daiho sighed, gathered his tools, and made his way through the narrow corridors. Waystation 7 orbited a mining planet, serving as a rest stop for cargo ships and a home for about 2,000 workers from a dozen different species. Most days were quiet, routine. That was fine with Daiho. He had seen enough excitement growing. Up in Busan during the first contact years, the, break room was small and smelled like coffee and something that might have been coffee but definitely was not. Minho sat at a table with Jiwon, the station's xenobiologist. They were both staring at a screen showing a news broadcast. What am I looking at? Daiho asked. That, Minho said, pointing at the screen. The cursed princess everyone talks about. They are doing a special about all the failed attempts to save her. Daiho had heard stories about Princess Hana. Everyone in the Empire had. The beautiful princess trapped in crystal, waiting for someone worthy to free her. It sounded like a fairy tale, the kind of story people told but nobody really believed. Except it was real. The screen showed her clearly, floating in her crystal prison, eyes open but unseeing. Or were they? Daiho leaned closer. There was something about those eyes. She is aware, Jiwon said quietly as if reading his thoughts. The medical reports confirm it. She has been conscious this entire time. The words hit Daiho like a physical blow. 15 years. 15 years awake but unable to move or speak or do anything. The horror of it made his stomach turn. They say only someone pure of heart and unbreakable in will can free her, Minho said, using his dramatic voice. Every prince and champion in the galaxy has tried. All failed. That is awful, Daiho muttered. What is awful is that they treat it like entertainment, Jiwon said. Look at this. They rank the attempts. They have betting pools on who will try next. Daiho watched the broadcast in silence. It showed Prince Voran straining and failing, Champion Thex's energy scattering uselessly, Duke Rexian overheating and sparking, a parade of powerful beings all defeated by the curse. The hosts laughed and made jokes. Nobody seemed to think about the woman trapped inside, suffering. Someone should help her, Daiho said. Minho snorted. Right. If all these powerful aliens could not do it, what chance does anyone else have? It is impossible. Maybe impossible for the wrong reasons, Daiho said slowly. Look at them. They all try to use force, raw strength or power, What if the curse needs something else? Like what? Jiwon asked. I do not know, but if I were trapped like that, I would not want someone who saw me as a challenge. I would want someone who actually cared. Minho stared at him. You are not seriously thinking about trying. Why not? Because you are a maintenance engineer. You are not a prince or a warrior or a wizard. You are just a guy who fixes air filters. So? So you will fail just like everyone else, except you will also look stupid doing it. Daeho turned back to the screen. They were showing Princess Hana's face again, a close-up of her frozen expression. He looked at her eyes. Really looked. There was awareness there. Pain, loneliness. A person trapped and forgotten by everyone who only saw a legend. I am going to try, Daeho said. Jiwon put down her coffee. You are serious? Yeah, Daeho, be reasonable, Minho said. Even if you got permission to try, which you probably would not. What makes you think you could succeed where literal super beings failed? I do not know if I will succeed. But I know that everyone who tried did it for the wrong reasons. They wanted glory, fame, a kingdom. Nobody tried because they wanted to help her. And you want to help her? Minho asked. You do not even know her. I know she has been suffering for 15 years while people treat her like a game show. That is enough. The next week was harder than Daeho expected. First, he had to request leave from the station, which meant explaining why. His supervisor, a 6-armed hexapod named Click Click, thought he was joking. When Daeho insisted he was serious, Click Click approved the leave, probably thinking it was harmless. Let the human embarrass himself. Getting to Valthera Prime was expensive. Daeho had some savings, but not enough for a direct shuttle. He had to take a cargo ship to the nearest hub, then another ship to a secondary planet, then finally a transport to the capital world. The journey took 12 days. During the trip, Daeho did research. He read everything he could find about Princess Hana. Not the curse, not the prophecy, but about her. He learned she was an archaeologist who published papers on precursor technology. He read her research notes available in the Imperial Archives. She had a sharp mind and a dry sense of humor in her writing. She loved old poetry and collected rare books. Her favorite food was a Valtherian dish made with moonberries. By the time Daeho reached Valthera Prime, he felt like he knew her a little. Not the princess, not the legend, but Hana the person. The capital world was overwhelming. Buildings that reached the clouds, vehicles flying in organized streams through the air, aliens of every shape and size filling the streets. Daeho felt very small and very human. Earth had cities, sure, but nothing like this. The Grand Temple was even more impressive up close. Daeho stood at the entrance, suddenly aware of how ridiculous this was. He was nobody. A maintenance worker from a species most of the galaxy considered primitive. What was he doing here? But then he thought about those eyes. Those aware, suffering eyes. Someone had to try for the right reasons. Even if he failed, at least he would fail while caring. The temple guards were massive Valtherians, easily 8 feet tall with skin that shimmered like oil. They looked at Daeho with barely hidden amusement. State your business, human. I am here to attempt the challenge. To free Princess Hana. The guards exchanged glances. One of them actually laughed. You want to try? Yes. Human, do you understand that the strongest warriors in the galaxy have failed? What makes you think you can succeed? I do not know if I can. But I want to try, the guard sighed. We have to allow all challengers, per the Emperor's decree. But do not waste too much of our time. They led him through marble halls and past chambers filled with statues and art. Finally, they reached the main chamber. It was enormous, with a ceiling so high it disappeared into shadows. And there, in the center, was Princess Hana. Daeho stopped breathing. She was beautiful, yes, but that was not what struck him. It was the reality of her. A real person trapped in that crystal, suffering. All the research, all the preparation, suddenly seemed inadequate. How could he help her? How could anyone help her? But he had come this far. He had to try. The attempt will be tomorrow at noon, a guard said. You will have one chance. When you fail, you must leave immediately. I understand. That night, Daeho could not sleep. He lay in a cheap hotel room, staring at the ceiling, wondering what he had gotten himself into. Tomorrow, he would either free a princess or become another failed story people laughed about. Either way, he had to try. For her. Not for glory or fame, but because somewhere in that crystal a person was suffering and alone. Someone had to care. It might as well be him. The grand temple filled with spectators by mid-morning. Word had spread that another challenger was attempting to free Princess Hana. When people learned the challenger was human, the crowd grew larger. Everyone wanted to see this. Most came to watch another failure. Some came to mock. A few came out of genuine curiosity. Daiho stood in a small waiting room, trying to calm his racing heart. His hands shook slightly. He wore simple clothes, nothing fancy. He had no armor, no weapons, no mystical artifacts. Just himself and whatever strength he could muster. A priest entered, an elderly Valtherian with kind eyes. "It is time, young human. Are you ready?" "No," Daiho admitted. "But I am going anyway." The priest smiled softly. "That is more honest than most. Come." They walked through corridors that opened into the main chamber. The crowd's noise hit Daiho like a wave. Thousands of beings packed the viewing galleries, talking and pointing. He saw Minho and Jiwon in the crowd. They had come all this way to support him. That helped a little. Emperor Taeyang sat on a throne at the far end of the chamber. He looked old and tired, wearing his grief like a heavy cloak. Beside him sat Princess Yuna, younger than Hana, watching with sharp, intelligent eyes. The royal family had witnessed so many failures. Daiho wondered if they even allowed themselves to hope anymore. In the center of the chamber, Princess Hana floated in her crystal prison above the black stone throne. Daiho approached slowly. The crowd grew quieter, though whispers continued. "Look at him, he is so small." "A human. This will be over quickly. Why do they even allow these attempts anymore?" Daiho ignored them. He stood before Hana and looked up at her. Even suspended in crystal, even after 15 years, she was remarkable. But more than that, when he looked into her eyes, he saw the person trapped inside. The awareness, the pain. He spoke quietly, meant only for her, though his words carried in the silent chamber. "Princess Hana, my name is Daiho. I am from Earth. I am not a prince or a warrior. I am just an engineer who fixes broken things. I probably cannot do this. Stronger people than me have tried and failed. But I wanted to try anyway, because I do not think anyone should suffer alone. Whatever happens, I want you to know that someone sees you. Not the legend or the prize, but you. The person who loves archaeology and old poetry. The person who has been so brave for so long." He paused. "I am going to try now. I promise I will not give up easily." In her crystal prison, Hana heard every word. 15 years of challengers, and not one had spoken to her like this. They had boasted. They had prayed. They had made grand pronouncements. But this human, this Daiho, talked to her like a person. He saw her. Really saw her. Something in her chest, long frozen by the curse, felt warm. Daiho positioned himself carefully. The black stone throne was about waist high. Hana floated just above it, horizontal, as if lying on an invisible bed. The crystal formed a complete shell around her. He studied it for a moment, then slid his hands beneath her shoulders and knees into the small gaps where the crystal met the throne. The crystal was cold. It felt solid as diamond. Daiho took a breath and lifted. Nothing happened. The crystal did not budge. "It felt like trying to lift a mountain," the crowd murmured. Some laughed. This would be another quick failure. But Daiho did not stop. He adjusted his grip and tried again, pulling upward with all his strength. His muscles strained. His face turned red with effort. Still, the crystal did not move even a fraction of an inch. "Give up, human," someone shouted. "You are embarrassing yourself." Daiho ignored them. He thought about Hana, about 15 years of consciousness without movement, about the loneliness, about the despair. If she could endure that, he could endure this. He pulled harder. His arms shook. His back screamed in protest. Sweat dripped down his face. The crystal remained perfectly still. 1 minute passed. Then 2. The crowd grew restless. This was taking longer than most attempts, but the result seemed obvious. The human could not do it. Daiho's vision started to blur. His entire body felt like it was on fire. Every muscle told him to stop, to give up, that this was impossible. But he thought about those eyes, about the person inside who had not given up for 15 years. "I will not quit," he whispered. "I will not leave you." Something shifted. Not the crystal, but something deeper. The curse itself seemed to pause, to consider. This challenger was different. No supernatural power, no enhanced strength. Just raw, stubborn determination. Just pure refusal to abandon someone suffering. The prophecy stirred. Pure heart, unbreakable will. Not power, not nobility, but genuine care and refusal to surrender. The crystal cracked. Just a small line, barely visible. But it was there. Deho felt it. The weight changed ever so slightly. He pulled harder, pouring everything he had into the effort. His arms felt like they might tear from his shoulders. He did not care. Another crack appeared. Then another. Blue light leaked from the fractures. The crowd gasped. Emperor Taiyang stood from his throne. Princess Yuna leaned forward, hope and fear on her face. Come on, Deho grunted. Come on. The cracks spread faster now, running across the crystal like a spider web. The blue light grew brighter. Inside her prison, Hana felt the curse loosening. For the first time in 15 years, she felt sensation returning to her fingers. Her lungs prepared to draw breath. With a sound like breaking glass multiplied 1,000 times, the crystal shattered. Pieces dissolved into light before hitting the ground. Hana dropped, suddenly free, suddenly falling. Deho caught her. The momentum nearly knocked him over. He stumbled, his exhausted legs barely holding, but he did not fall. He held her, supporting her weight, refusing to let her hit the ground. Hana gasped. Air rushed into her lungs, sweet and sharp. She tried to speak, but her voice would not work yet. Her muscles would not obey. 15 years without use had left them weak. But she was free. She was actually free. She looked up at the face of the man holding her. Deho looked terrible, exhausted, sweating, shaking from effort. But he smiled at her. A genuine smile with no hint of triumph or pride. Just relief and kindness. I have got you, he said softly. You are safe now. Tears filled Hana's eyes. Real tears, the first she had cried in 15 years. They rolled down her cheeks as she tried to make her mouth form words. Finally, she managed to whisper, "Thank you." The chamber exploded with noise. Some people cheered. Some stood in shocked silence. Some refused to believe what they had just witnessed. A human, a primitive human, had succeeded where the greatest champions failed. Emperor Taiyang rushed down from his throne, moving faster than his age should allow. Yuna ran beside him. Medical staff surged forward with equipment. Guards formed a protective circle. Deho carefully lowered Hana to a stretcher the medical team brought. His arms finally gave out and he dropped to his knees, breathing hard. Every part of him hurt. He felt like he had just fought a war. Minho and Jiwon pushed through the crowd to reach him. Minho grabbed his shoulders, laughing and crying at the same time. You did it. You actually did it. Is she okay? Deho asked, trying to see past the crowd of doctors surrounding Hana. She is free because of you, Jiwon said, her eyes bright. You broke the curse. Medical staff carefully examined Hana, checking her vital signs and testing her responses. Her father held her hand, tears streaming down his face. Yuna knelt beside the stretcher, talking softly to her sister, welcoming her back. Hana's eyes, however, kept finding Deho across the chamber. This strange human who had done what no one else could, who had seen her as a person when everyone else saw a challenge, who had refused to give up even when success seemed impossible. The head physician approached Emperor Taiyang. Her vital signs are stable, Your Majesty. She will need extensive physical therapy. Her muscles have atrophied from disuse, but she is free from the curse. She's going to recover. The Emperor turned to look at Deho, who was still kneeling on the floor, too tired to stand. Their eyes met across the chamber. Taiyang bowed his head in respect and gratitude, a gesture that made the crowd gasp. The Emperor bowing to a common human. Bring him, Taiyang said. Bring the one who saved my daughter. Guards helped Deho to his feet and guided him forward. He stood before the Emperor, swaying slightly from exhaustion. You have done what I thought impossible, Taiyang said, his voice thick with emotion. You have given me back my daughter. Name your reward. Anything within my power is yours. Deho looked past the Emperor to where Hana lay on the stretcher. She was watching him with those expressive eyes now filled with gratitude and something else he could not quite name. I do not want a reward, Deho said. I just wanted to help. Those simple words, spoken with complete sincerity, echoed through the chamber. And in that moment, everyone present realized they had witnessed something rare. Not just a curse-breaking, but genuine heroism without expectation of reward. It was the most human thing anyone had ever seen. The medical wing of the royal palace was quiet and calm, a stark difference from the chaos of the Grand Temple. Princess Hana lay in a soft bed, the first real bed she had felt in 15 years. Everything was sensation now. The smoothness of sheets, the weight of a blanket, the gentle breeze from an open window. After so long without feeling anything, it was almost overwhelming. Doctors visited constantly during the first few days. They ran tests, checked her responses, and worked on getting her muscles functioning again. 15 years of disuse had left her body weak. She could move her fingers and toes, could turn her head, could speak in whispers, but standing or walking remained impossible for now. Emperor Taiyang visited every morning and evening. He sat beside her bed holding her hand, sometimes talking, sometimes just crying with relief. Yuna practically lived in the medical wing, telling Hana everything that had happened in 15 years, catching her up on palace gossip, scientific discoveries, political changes. It was too much information at once, but Hana drank it in greedily. But the person Hana most wanted to see was Daiho. The doctors had insisted he rest after his attempt. The physical strain had been enormous, and he had actually torn several muscles in his arms and back. He spent 2 days in recovery himself, though his injuries were minor compared to hers. On the third day, Hana asked her father to send for him. "Are you sure?" Taeyang asked gently. "You need to focus on your recovery. Father, he saved me. I need to thank him properly." "You already thanked him in the temple." "That was not enough." Taeyang smiled, understanding in his eyes. "I will arrange it." That afternoon, guards escorted Daiho to Hana's room. He wore simple clothes, still looking uncomfortable in the palace's luxury. When he saw Hana awake and aware in her bed, his face lit up with genuine relief. "You look better," he said. Hana laughed, a sound that felt strange after so long. "I can actually blink now. Yesterday I could not even do that without help. That is amazing progress." An awkward silence fell. They were strangers, really, despite the intimacy of what had happened in the temple. Hana gestured to a chair beside her bed. "Please sit. Stay for a while." Daiho sat and they began to talk. At first, the conversation was simple. Hana asked about Earth, a planet she had barely heard of before. Daiho told her about blue oceans and green forests, about cities that grew up instead of out, about humanity's clumsy first steps into galactic society. "We are still figuring everything out," he admitted. "Most species see us as primitive." "They are probably right." "You are not primitive," Hana said firmly. "You did what no one else could. I just refused to quit. That is not special. It is the most special thing in the world." As days passed, Daiho visited regularly. He insisted it was to help with her physical therapy, but they both knew it was more than that. He would help her practice moving her arms, would support her when she tried to sit up, would encourage her when frustration made her want to cry. Between therapy sessions, they talked about everything. Hana told him about her archaeological work, about precursor ruins and ancient mysteries. Her eyes lit up when she spoke about discoveries she had made, puzzles she had solved. "The precursors built things that last millions of years," she said. "Their technology is so far beyond ours. I spent my whole career trying to understand just a fraction of what they knew." "Is that how you found the artifact that cursed you?" Hana's expression darkened. "Yes, I was exploring a vault on a dead moon. It was an incredible sight, full of intact precursor technology. Then I found the sphere. It was covered in symbols I had never seen before. When I touched it, everything went wrong." "What happened exactly?" "Light exploded around me. I felt the artifact scanning me, judging me somehow. Then pain and then nothing until I woke up already cursed. The text said I was judged unworthy." "That is not true," Daiho said firmly. "You are one of the worthiest people I have ever met. You barely know me. I know you survived 15 years of consciousness without movement. I know you did not break. That takes incredible strength." Hana felt warmth in her chest again, that same feeling from the temple when Daiho had spoken to her like a person. She studied his face, noting the sincerity there. He meant every word. "Tell me about you," she said. "You know all about me from your research." "It is only fair," Daiho shrugged. "There is not much to tell. I grew up in Busan, a city by the sea. My parents run a small restaurant. I have a younger sister who is much smarter than me. I studied engineering because I liked understanding how things work. When Earth joined the Empire, I jumped at the chance to work on space stations. Why? Because I wanted to see the galaxy. Earth is beautiful, but it is small. There is so much out there." He paused. though I never expected to end up here. In a palace? Talking to a princess like we are old friends? Hana smiled. We are friends, are we not? I hope so. As weeks passed, Hana's recovery progressed. She could sit up on her own now. She could feed herself, though her hands still shook. Physical therapists worked with her daily, helping her relearn how to use muscles that had forgotten their purpose. Daeho was there for most of it, offering encouragement and terrible jokes that made her laugh despite their badness. Minyo and Jiwon visited too, and Hana liked them immediately. They treated her like a normal person, not a fragile princess, which was exactly what she needed. During one therapy session, while Hana practiced standing with support bars, she asked Daeho about the artifact that had cursed her. Have you thought about it? She asked. The prophecy said pure heart and unbreakable will. Why did those qualities matter? I do not know. Maybe the precursors valued different things than we do. I have been thinking about it constantly. The artifact judged me unworthy, but it accepted you. Why? Daeho helped adjust her grip on the bars. Maybe it was not about being worthy at all. Maybe it was testing for something specific, like what? I do not know. But you said the artifact scanned you, judged you. What if it was not saying you were unworthy? What if it was testing you? And passing the test required someone with different qualities to help. Hana's eyes widened. You mean the curse was part of the test itself? Think about it. The prophecy said someone with a pure heart and unbreakable will had to lift you. Not defeat the curse, but lift you. What if the whole point was to find someone who would try not for glory, but because they cared? That is a cruel test. The precursors were not human. Maybe they did not think like we do. The idea haunted Hana. If Daeho was right, then she had not failed. She had been given a test that required patience and faith that someone would eventually come, a test of endurance. And she had passed by surviving, by not breaking. One evening, as the sun set outside her window, painting the sky in purples and oranges, Hana sat in a chair while Daeho read to her from one of her favorite poetry books. His pronunciation of Altherian words was terrible, making her laugh, but he tried. You do not have to do this, she said. You freed me. You do not owe me anything more. Daeho looked up from the book. I am not here because I owe you. I am here because I want to be. Why? Because talking with you is the most interesting thing I have ever done. Because you are brilliant and kind and stronger than anyone I have met. Because when I am here, everything else seems less important. Hana's heart raced. She had known attraction before, had dated in her youth before the curse, but this felt different, deeper. This was not just physical attraction. This was connection, understanding, respect, and something she was almost afraid to name. Daeho, I need to tell you something. You saved my life, but you also gave me something else. Hope. For 15 years, I was alone in my own head, but knowing you were coming, that someone cared enough to try, it changed everything. You changed everything. Daeho reached out and gently took her hand. You are not alone anymore. I am here. For as long as you want me. I want you here for a very long time. They sat in comfortable silence, hands linked, watching the sunset. Neither noticed Emperor Taiyang standing in the doorway, observing them with a knowing smile before quietly walking away. He had seen the way they looked at each other. He recognized the beginning of something profound, but he also knew that trouble was coming. Not everyone was happy about Daeho's success. Political forces were already moving in the shadows. Lord Gumin, who had been promised Hana's hand in marriage before the curse, was particularly vocal about his displeasure. For now, though, Taeyang let his daughter have this moment of peace and happiness. She had earned it. They both had. Outside the window, the first stars appeared in the darkening sky, and inside the room, two people from different worlds began to fall in love. Emperor Taiyang summoned Daeho to his private study 6 weeks after Hana's freedom. The room was smaller than Daeho expected, lined with books and personal mementos rather than displays of wealth. The emperor sat behind a simple desk, looking tired but determined. Sit, please, Taiyang said, gesturing to a chair. We need to talk. Daeho sat nervous. The emperor had been kind to him, but this felt different. More formal. You freed my daughter, and for that you have my eternal gratitude, Taiyang began. But I need to be honest with you. There are political complications, because I am human? Partially. But also because of what your success means. You humiliated powerful nobles who failed. You disrupted carefully laid political plans. Lord Gumin, in particular, is very angry. He was promised Hana's hand before the curse, and he has not forgotten. Daeho felt cold. I did not do this for politics. I just wanted to help, I know. But politics do not care about intentions. Taeyang leaned forward. I see how you and Hana look at each other. I am not blind. If you wish to pursue a relationship with my daughter, you will face opposition from many quarters. Are you forbidding it? No, but I am testing it. Taeyang pulled out a datapad. Meridian 7, one of our colony worlds, is experiencing catastrophic system failures. Terraforming equipment is malfunctioning. Life support is failing. Crops are dying. 10,000 colonists are at risk. Our best engineers have tried to fix it and failed. And you want me to solve it? I want to give you a chance to prove yourself. If you truly freed Hana through worthiness rather than luck, prove it again. Go to Meridian 7, fix the problem. Show me and the Empire that you are who I hope you are. Daeho understood. This was not just about solving a technical problem. This was about proving he belonged in Hana's world. When do I leave? Tomorrow. You can take whoever you want as a team. That evening, Daeho met with Minho and Jiwon in their temporary quarters. He explained the situation. Of course we are coming, Minho said immediately. You think we would let you do this alone? It could be dangerous. So was lifting a cursed princess, but you did that anyway. Jiwon was already pulling up data on Meridian 7. This is serious. Multiple independent systems failing simultaneously. That should not be possible unless something is causing it. A knock on the door interrupted them. Daeho opened it to find Princess Hana standing there with a packed bag and a determined expression. She could walk now, though she still tired easily. I am coming with you, she announced. Hana, you are still recovering. I can analyze data and solve puzzles from a chair just fine. You need my expertise. Your father will not allow it. My father suggested it, actually. He thinks I might see something others missed. She smiled. Besides, do you really think I am going to let you leave without me? Daeho wanted to argue, but the look in her eyes stopped him. She needed this. After 15 years of being helpless, she needed to be useful again. Okay. But you take breaks when you need them. Deal. The next morning, they boarded a fast military ship. Commander Somin, a stern Valtherian officer with ice-blue skin and no patience for incompetence, was assigned to supervise. She made her opinion of the mission clear immediately. I do not understand why the Emperor is sending a human and a barely recovered princess to solve a crisis our best people could not handle, but I follow orders. We appreciate your support, Hana said dryly. The journey to Meridian 7 took 3 days. During that time, the team studied all available data on the failures. The pattern made no sense. Power fluctuations, equipment malfunctions, communication disruptions, all happening randomly across the colony. There is no central point of failure, Jiwon said, frustrated. It is like the planet itself is attacking the colony. Maybe it is, Hana said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. Not the planet, but something on it. She pulled up geological surveys. Look at this. The colony was built in a valley that showed high concentrations of unusual mineral deposits. What if those deposits are not natural? Daeho leaned closer to the screen. You think there is precursor technology under the colony? It would explain the random failures. If there is an active precursor installation and our colony accidentally triggered some kind of defense system. That is speculation, Commander Somin said. It is a hypothesis we can test, Hana replied. When we arrive, we should scan for precursor energy signatures. Meridian 7 appeared on the view screen, a brown and green world still in the early stages of terraforming. The colony was a cluster of domes in a large valley. Even from orbit, they could see dark sections where power had failed. They landed at the colony's main pad. The administrator, a worried Valtherian named Biom, met them. Thank goodness you are here. We have lost another dome this morning. We are running out of time. Biom took them on a tour. The colony was in bad shape. People looked scared and exhausted. Equipment sparked and failed randomly. The atmosphere of fear was thick enough to touch. Daeho split the team up. Minho and Somin checked life support systems. Jiwon investigated the agricultural domes. Daeho and Hana went to examine the power grid. The power station was a mess of failed systems and confused technicians. Daeho started analyzing the failure logs while Hana set up scanning equipment. Talk to me, Daeho said to the head technician, a young Mekros engineer. When did this start? 6 weeks ago. Small things at first. A circuit breaker here, a glitch there. But it got worse fast. Now we are losing major systems daily. Did anything change 6 weeks ago? New equipment? Construction. We did some excavation for a new dome foundation. Hit bedrock and stopped. Hana's scanner beeped. Her eyes widened. Daeho, look at this. The scanner showed strong precursor energy signatures deep underground, directly below the colony. And the signatures were active, pulsing with regular patterns. There is definitely something down there, Hana said. And our colony is sitting right on top of it. They called the team together and shared their findings. Jiwon had noticed that plant failures started nearest to the excavation site and spread outward. Soman's investigation showed the same pattern in life support failures. Everything pointed to one conclusion. The precursors built something here, Hana said. When we started digging, we woke it up. It sees our technology as a threat and is defending itself. Can we shut it down? Bayum asked desperately. We would need to access it directly, Daeho said. Is there a way underground? The excavation site. We stopped digging when we hit metal. Precursor metal, apparently. The excavation site was a large pit at the edge of the colony. At the bottom, partially exposed, was a smooth metallic surface covered in the same symbols Hana had seen in the vault where she was cursed. It is a door, Hana whispered. We need to open it, and then what? Soman demanded. Walk in and ask nicely for it to stop? Actually, yes, Daeho said. If the precursors built this as a defense system, it must have some kind of protocol. A way to identify friend from foe. That is insane. You have a better idea? They spent hours studying the door, trying to understand the symbols. Hana's archaeological knowledge was crucial. She recognized patterns, identified what might be controls. This symbol means access, she said, pointing. And this one is about permission or worthiness. Like the artifact that cursed you, Daeho realized. Exactly like it. Hana's face was pale. Daeho, I think this is all connected. The precursors scattered these tests across the galaxy, challenges to find beings worthy of their legacy. So we need to prove we are worthy, or at least not a threat. Daeho approached the door and placed his hand on it just as Hana had done with the sphere. Energy flowed up his arm, scanning, judging. It did not hurt, but he felt the examination. The intelligence behind it was vast and ancient. He thought about why they were here. Not to conquer or exploit, but to save lives. To protect people. The precursor's defense system was endangering innocents, and they needed to fix that. The door understood. Symbols lit up and the metal panel slid open, revealing a tunnel leading down into darkness. It worked, Jiwon breathed. It actually worked. They gathered equipment and prepared to enter. Commander Sumin insisted on coming, along with 2 guards. The tunnel led deep underground to a vast chamber filled with humming machinery. At the center was a crystalline structure that pulsed with light, like a giant artificial heart. The control center, Hana said. This is what is controlling the defense systems. Daeho approached carefully. The crystal responded to his presence, projecting symbols into the air. They swirled and reformed, becoming images, the precursors explaining their installation. A guardian system meant to protect something valuable. But millions of years had passed and its protocols had degraded. It no longer distinguished properly between threat and peaceful presence. Can you fix it? Hana asked. I think so. It is like any other system, just more advanced. It needs a reset, new parameters. Daeho pulled out his tools. But I need to interface directly with it. He worked for hours with Hana's help translating symbols and Jiwon analyzing the biological components of the system. Slowly, carefully, they rewrote the defense protocols. They taught the ancient AI to recognize the colony as something to protect rather than attack. The crystal's pulsing changed. The light went from angry red to calm blue. Throughout the colony above, systems stopped failing. Power stabilized. Life support normalized. They had done it. Biom's voice came over their communicators, filled with joy and relief. Whatever you did. The return to Valthera Prime was completely different from their departure. News of their success at Meridian 7 had spread across the Empire. The small team that had been mocked and doubted had saved 10,000 lives and solved a mystery that baffled the best minds in the galaxy. Ships greeted them as they approached the capital world. Messages of congratulations flooded their communications. Commander Soman, who had been skeptical at the start, personally recommended Daeho and his team for commendations. They did what I thought impossible, she told the Emperor. The human has a gift for solving problems others overlook. A grand celebration was planned in their honor. The palace was decorated with lights and flowers. Dignitaries from across the empire attended. Emperor Taeyang personally greeted each team member, thanking them for their service. During the party, Daeho felt overwhelmed. He was not used to this kind of attention. He stood on a balcony overlooking the palace gardens, trying to catch his breath when Hana found him. "Hiding?" she asked with a smile. "Is it that obvious? You look like you want to jump off this balcony and run away." The thought crossed my mind. Hana joined him at the railing. The twin moons of Valthera Prime hung in the sky, casting silver light across everything. Music drifted from the ballroom behind them. "I wanted to thank you," Hana said. "Not just for saving my life in the temple, but for everything after. For being my friend, for helping me recover, for taking me on the mission even though I was still weak. You were not weak. You were brilliant. We could not have done it without your knowledge. We made a good team. We did." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Hana spoke again, her voice quieter. "Daeho, I need to tell you something. These past months with you have been the happiest of my life. Not just because I am free from the curse, but because of you, the person you are. How you see the world, how you see me." Daeho's heart raced. "Hana, I feel the same way. From the moment I saw you in that crystal, I knew you were someone special. Getting to know you has only confirmed it. You are brilliant and brave and kind. I have fallen in love with you." Hana's eyes filled with tears, but they were happy tears. "I love you too. I think I started falling in love the moment you spoke to me in the temple, when you saw me as a person and not a legend." Daeho gently cupped her face in his hands and kissed her. It was soft and sweet, full of promise. When they pulled apart, both were smiling. "What do we do now?" Hana asked. "We figure it out together." They returned to the party hand in hand. Several people noticed and whispered, but neither cared. Let them talk. They had found something rare and precious. Emperor Taeyang watched them from across the room. He felt both joy and concern. Joy that his daughter had found happiness. Concern about the political complications. He had publicly commended Daeho, which helped, but opposition remained strong among traditional nobles. After the celebration, the emperor formally granted his blessing for their relationship. "You have proven yourself beyond any doubt," he told Daeho. "You have my permission to court my daughter. Though I warn you, not everyone will be happy about this." "I understand, Your Majesty. Call me Taeyang. You might become family someday." The warning proved accurate. In the following weeks, opposition crystallized around Lord Guman. He was a powerful noble with connections throughout the empire. He had been promised Hana's hand in marriage before her curse, a political arrangement meant to unite two powerful families. Her curse had delayed those plans, and now a human had completely disrupted them. Guman called meetings with other traditionalist nobles. "This is an insult to our entire civilization," he told them. A primitive human, elevated above his station because of one lucky success. "The emperor has lost perspective." "What do you propose?" asked one of the nobles. "We remind everyone why humans should not be trusted. We show them the danger of letting these primitives into positions of power." Princess Yuna, who had her own network of informants, started hearing whispers. Servants reported secret meetings. Loyal guards mentioned suspicious activities in the palace. Something was being planned, but she could not determine what. She went to Hana and Daeho with her concerns. They were in the palace library, researching more about precursor sites. The success at Meridian 7 had sparked interest in a new initiative to peacefully explore ancient ruins. "Be careful," Yuna warned. "Guman is plotting something. I do not have proof yet, but my instincts are screaming." "What can he do?" Daeho asked. "The Emperor supports us. Guman is clever and vindictive. He will find a way to strike at you." They took the warning seriously, but could not act without proof. Life continued. Daeho and Hana were officially courting now, spending every free moment together. They walked in the gardens, studied in the library, and planned the new archaeological initiative. One evening, Hana took Daeho to the royal vault. She wanted to show him the artifact that had cursed her. It was kept in a secure chamber deep underground, surrounded by guards and protective fields. "Why do you want to see it?" Daeho asked. "Because I'm not afraid of it anymore, and I want you to see it, to understand what we might be dealing with on other precursor sites." The vault guard, after checking their authorization, let them enter. The artifact sat on a pedestal in the center of the room. It looked like a smooth sphere of dark metal, covered in softly glowing symbols. "This is what started everything," Hana said softly. "My curse, us meeting all of it." Deho studied it carefully. "It looks similar to the control crystal at Meridian 7, same style of symbols. I have been thinking about that. What if the precursors created these as tests scattered across the galaxy, each one judging worthiness in different ways? Mine tested patience and hope. Yours tested determination and compassion. Testing for what purpose? That is what we need to find out." They did not notice the hidden cameras recording their visit. They did not know that Guman had bribed one of the vault guards to give him access to the security systems. They did not see him watching from his estate, a cruel smile on his face. "Perfect," Guman muttered. "This will work perfectly." 2 nights later, during another state dinner, alarms suddenly blared throughout the palace. Guards rushed to the vault. Emperor Taeyang demanded an immediate report. "The artifact is missing, Your Majesty," the head of security reported. "Stolen within the last hour? That is impossible. The vault is the most secure place in the Empire. Nevertheless, it is gone, and the security recordings show Princess Hana and the human Deho visiting the vault earlier. They had the access codes." The room erupted in accusations. Lord Guman was quick to add fuel to the fire. "I warned you all," he shouted. "This human cannot be trusted. He has stolen precursor technology, probably to take back to Earth. Who knows what damage he plans to cause?" "That is ridiculous," Hana said, standing. "We were there to study it, nothing more." "We did not take anything. Then where is it?" Guman demanded. "Who else had access? Who else had motive? The human wants to elevate his primitive species by stealing our most precious artifacts. Deho would never do that," Hana insisted. "You are blinded by infatuation, Princess. You refuse to see what is obvious to everyone else." Emperor Taeyang held up his hand for silence. "We will investigate properly before making accusations. Seal the palace. No one leaves until we find the artifact." But the damage was done. Doubt had been planted. Even those who supported Deho began to wonder. The evidence did seem to point to him. Deho felt sick. He had been set up, but how could he prove it? He met with Minho, Jiwon, and Hana in his quarters. "Someone is framing you," Minho said. "Obviously. But who and why?" "Guman," Yuna said, entering the room. "It has to be. He is the only one with enough motive and resources." "How do we prove it?" Jiwon asked. "We find the artifact," Deho said. "If Guman took it, he must have it hidden somewhere. Or he's planning to move it off-world." "I can access shipping manifest," Yuna said. "Check for any unusual cargo being prepared." They worked through the night. Yuna's investigation revealed that a cargo ship registered to one of Guman's subsidiary companies was scheduled to depart at dawn, heading for a remote system. The manifest listed mining equipment, but the cargo weight did not match. "That has to be it," Hana said. "But how do we stop it without proof?" "We do not stop it," Deho said. "We follow it and catch them in the act." Commander Soman, who had been quietly loyal to Deho since Meridian 7, agreed to help. She assigned a fast military scout ship to their team. They launched just before dawn, tracking Guman's cargo ship at a distance. The cargo ship headed straight out of the system toward empty space. After several hours, it rendezvoused with a larger vessel. They watched as cargo was transferred, including a suspiciously small container that required heavy security. "That is the artifact," Hana said. "It has to be." Soman opened a communication channel. "Attention, unidentified vessel. This is Commander Soman of the Valtherian Imperial Navy. Prepare to be boarded for inspection." The response was weapons fire. The larger ship was heavily armed, far more than any civilian vessel should be. Clearly, Guman had planned for interference. A space battle ensued. Soman was an excellent pilot, dodging fire while returning it with precision, but they were outgunned. Just when things looked despy, the trial of Lord Guman became the most watched legal proceeding in recent imperial history. The evidence presented was damning. Security footage showed his operatives infiltrating the vault. Financial records revealed bribes paid to guards. Communication logs detailed his entire conspiracy, including the plan to use the precursor artifact against Earth. The Tribunal of High Judges deliberated for only 3 hours before reaching a verdict. Guilty on all charges, Guman was sentenced to permanent exile on a remote penal colony. His family name was stripped of all honors. His considerable wealth was seized and distributed to charity. But the trial revealed something more important than one noble's crimes. It exposed deep veins of xenophobia and fear that ran through parts of Valtharian society. Many beings still saw humans as primitive and unworthy of respect. The conspiracy had only succeeded because those prejudices existed. Emperor Taiyang understood that simply punishing human was not enough. Real change was needed. He called a session of the High Council, the governing body that represented all major species in the empire. For too long, we have allowed prejudice to guide our decisions, Taiyang told the assembled representatives. We judge species by their technology rather than their character. We dismiss entire civilizations because they developed differently than us. This must change. He proposed a new initiative. The Archaeological Diplomatic Corps, led by Princess Hana and Deho, would explore precursor sites across the galaxy. But more than that, it would serve as a model of cooperation between species. Humans and Valtharians working together as equals. The proposal sparked heated debate. Some supported it enthusiastically, others argued against it. But Deho's success and the exposure of Guman's plot had shifted public opinion enough. After weeks of discussion, the High Council approved the initiative. Even more significant, Earth was formally recognized as a full partner in the Empire. Humanity would have representation on the High Council. What had been a minor member world suddenly had a voice in galactic affairs. Back on Earth, the news was received with celebration. Deho's parents watched the broadcast from their small restaurant in Busan, crying with pride and disbelief. Their son, who had simply wanted to help someone suffering, had changed human history. While politics unfolded, Deho and Hana continued their research. The recovered artifact was studied extensively. Working together, they made breakthrough discoveries about its purpose. Look at this, Hana said one day in the lab. The artifact is not just a test, it is a key. Each one is designed to identify beings with specific qualities: pure heart, unbreakable will, compassion, wisdom. Once activated properly, they unlock access to deeper precursor knowledge. So the curse was a test, Deho said. And we passed it. We did. Which means we might be able to access other precursor sites that have been sealed for millions of years. Sites that could contain incredible knowledge. Or incredible danger. The precursors were powerful beyond imagination. What they left behind could be amazing or terrifying. That is why we need to approach it carefully, with respect and caution. Their research confirmed what they suspected. Precursor sites across the galaxy responded to similar tests. Strength alone was never enough. Intelligence alone was insufficient. The precursors had valued something deeper: character, compassion, the willingness to help others without expectation of reward. In human terms, they valued goodness. This changes everything, Hana told the assembled council during a presentation. The precursors were not just an advanced civilization. They were searching for inheritors, species or individuals worthy of their legacy. Every sealed site, every artifact is a test waiting for someone to pass it. And humans can pass these tests? One council member asked skeptically. Humans, Valtharians, any species can pass if they approach with the right qualities. It is not about what you are. It is about who you are. The presentation convinced even the doubters. The Archaeological Diplomatic Corps received full funding and support. Ships were assigned. Teams were assembled. The first missions were planned. During all this activity, Deho and Hana's relationship deepened. They worked together during the day and spent evenings walking in the gardens or talking about everything and nothing. Their friends watched with knowing smiles. Minho started a betting pool on when Deho would propose. Even Commander Soman, normally stern and serious, softened around them. 6 months after Guman's trial, Deho decided it was time. He planned carefully, wanting the moment to be perfect. He asked Yuna for advice, and she helped him arrange everything. One evening, he asked Hana to meet him at the Grand Temple. She arrived curious, wondering why he wanted to return to the place where their story began. The temple was empty, lit only by moonlight streaming through high windows. Deho stood before the black stone throne where Hana had been trapped. The crystal was gone now, replaced by a memorial, a reminder of suffering overcome and hope fulfilled. Do you remember what I said the first time I stood here? Deho asked as Hana joined him. You said I should not suffer alone, that someone saw me as a person, not a legend. I meant every word. From that moment, you have been the most important person in my life. You are brilliant and brave. You challenge me to be better. You make every day worth living. He knelt down, pulling a small box from his pocket. Inside was a ring, simple but beautiful, combining Valtherian and Earth design elements. Hana, I am not a prince. I am not noble or powerful. I am just a man who loves you more than anything. Will you marry me? Tears streamed down Hana's face. She pulled him to his feet and kissed him. Yes. Yes, absolutely yes. They stood in the moonlight holding each other, both crying and laughing. In this temple, she had been trapped and suffering. Now in the same place, she was choosing her future with the person she loved. The engagement was announced the next day. The reaction was mostly positive, though some traditionalists grumbled. But public opinion had shifted dramatically. Polls showed that most citizens of the empire supported the union. Some even called it romantic, a real-life fairy tale. The wedding was planned for 6 months later, giving time for preparations. It would be a grand ceremony befitting a princess, but it would also honor human traditions. Both families worked together to create something unique. Daeho's parents arrived from Earth 2 weeks before the wedding. His mother Yoonji cried when she saw him, hugging him so tight he could barely breathe. His father Junho kept wiping his eyes and pretending it was allergies. His sister Nari immediately befriended Yuna, and the two became partners in mischief. She is beautiful, Yoonji whispered to Daeho after meeting Hana. And kind. You chose well. She chose me too somehow, because you are a good man. We raised you right. The wedding day arrived with perfect weather. The ceremony took place in the palace gardens under the twin moons. Thousands attended in person. Billions watched via broadcast across the empire and beyond. Hana wore a gown that combined Valtherian elegance with Korean traditional elements. Daeho wore formal attire that honored both cultures. They stood before priests from multiple faiths, surrounded by family and friends. Emperor Taiyang officiated, his voice strong and proud. Today we witness not just the union of two people, but the joining of two worlds. A symbol of what we can achieve when we look past differences to see the person beneath. The vows were simple but heartfelt. Daeho promised to always see Hana, really see her as he had in the temple, to support her dreams and stand beside her through every challenge. Hana promised to love him not despite their differences but because of them. To build a life together where both could thrive. When they kissed, the crowd erupted in cheers. Music played. People danced. It was a celebration of love and hope and unity. Later at the reception, Minho gave a speech that was both touching and embarrassing, telling stories about Daeho's clumsiness on the space station. Yuna spoke about her sister's strength and how Daeho was worthy of her. Emperor Taiyang blessed them both, welcoming Daeho officially into the family. As the party continued, Daeho and Hana slipped away to a quiet balcony, needing a moment alone. They looked up at the stars, thinking about how far they had come and how much lay ahead. Ready for the adventure? Hana asked. With you? Always. 1 month later, they departed on their first official mission as co-leaders of the Archaeological Diplomatic Corps. Their ship, named Hope's Journey, carried a mixed crew of humans and Valtherians. Their destination was a newly discovered precursor site in an uncharted system. Standing on the bridge as the ship entered hyperspace, Daeho reflected on the past year. He had left Waystation 7 as a simple engineer, planning to attempt what everyone said was impossible. He had freed a princess not through power but through caring. He had found love, faced conspiracies, and helped bridge the gap between two civilizations. Most importantly, he had proven that worthiness came from character, not birth. That one person acting with compassion and determination could change the galaxy. Hana leaned against him, watching the stars blur past. She had spent 15 years trapped and alone, enduring what would have broken most people, but that suffering had led her here, to this moment with this person. She had learned that darkness could end, that hope could be rewarded, that love could transcend anything. What are you thinking? Daeho asked.